Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Thursday Night Book Club with Lillian Lartey. I'm so pleased to have you as my final guest for this series of 7 mindfulness teachers and teachers of holistic practitioners from our directory. So a warm welcome to you. And I'll just introduce you a little bit for those people who don't know you. So you're based in the UK. You describe yourself as a de-stress and wellness coach,
I do,
and
yes.
utilizing mindfulness to guard against chronic stress, anxiety, and burnout, and to build resilience and purpose in the long term, which is something that we're all really in need of. And you have uh, experience in the wellness industry for over 20 years. You've spoken at conferences. You've spoken at online events, media all over the UK. You do one-to-one work, training corporate and community and social networks, quite a range.
Yes.
Some publications like in Women's Magazine recently. So we're just happy to be here and happy to see you. Welcome.
Thank you, William. It's a pleasure to be here.
So where would you like to begin to tell us about your work and everything that how you got into mindfulness, etc.?
Oh, well, we can start in the beginning, which was many years ago. I decided to go into the health wellness industry simply from attending the gym regularly. I used to attend exercise classes, aerobic classes. And after a while, I was looking at the instructor and I thought, I could do that. And I inquired as to how I could qualify to be a teacher. And I got qualified. Then I said, what else could I do? So I went on to qualify as a personal trainer, fitness trainer, and then massage therapy, remedial massage therapist. So I started to create my own business from there. Worked around different gyms. I developed 3 massage clinics in and around London. And everything was going well. I loved what I did. But I was working 12-plus-hour days, very long days. And for those listening who are self-employed, maybe freelancers, understand that, you just don't stop, and it just felt like I was on this constant treadmill. And I just thought it was normal. When I spoke with my colleagues, it was the same thing. They were doing so many classes or they were seeing so many clients, and the days just blurred one into the other, hardly took any breaks, any holidays. And it just seemed like, okay, is this it forever? But looking back now, when I was working in that way, it was not sustainable. Definitely was not sustainable. So I think I was one of the fortunate ones to have done it for the length of time that I did before I burnt out. Because when I started in the industry, burnout was one of those little words that were whispered around that be careful, you don't burn out. And it was one of those things that it was like a shadow in the background, but having to balance that with working, bringing the money in, paying your bills, things like that. It was like, well, I'm fit, I'm healthy, I can do it. So I did that for a number of years. And then about 10, 11 years ago, I burnt out from stress. Woke up one morning and my body was just like, no, we're not doing this anymore. And I literally could not get out of bed. I struggled to get out of bed. And I had severe brain fog. And I was like, this is weird. I've never experienced this before. And when I went on a course, and the guy happened to be talking about stress and weight gain and all sorts of things. And when he was going through the symptoms, at the bottom of the symptom list was the word burnout. And I was amazed. I was like, oh my goodness, yes, I am. I can relate to all those symptoms. I am experiencing them, but I didn't realize it was burnout. I just thought I was tired. So I sought his help. He was a coach and recovered from that. and then decided, okay, well, what am I going to do? Because I can't go back to physically working 12 plus hour days. So I had to pivot my business, bring everything online. I studied nutrition, and I also did some different modalities in terms of health and wellness. And but what I found was, even though I'd stopped physically working 12 plus hour days, mentally I was still working 12 plus hour days. So I was still figuring out things, still being available for clients. I had no boundaries. I'd be available for my clients literally 24/7. And I was still running one clinic. I still managed to run one of my massage clinics. But after a while, it was like, yeah, I'm still not feeling fulfilled inside. It's not, it's not really my angle of where I desire to be. So all of that was creating more stress. So the internal stress as well. And then in 2018, I had a stress-related health crisis. Um, I remember going out one day and being really breathless and finding it really unusual because I considered myself to be fit and healthy. But just walking up the road and getting breathless, I thought, this is not right. So I continued until one evening I was sitting down and my heart was pumping really, really fast and hard. And it was quite scary, and my legs felt like jelly, and I just didn't feel well at all. So I said to the family member who was in my home at the time, I said, I don't feel well, I'm going to go to A&E. And they looked at me instantly and they were like, because I never say that I'm not well. I'm the type of person, if I'm not well, I won't say anything, I'll just carry on. Mm. And for me to say that, they knew there was something not right. So off to A&E we went, got seen to, the lady took my blood pressure. It was 190/90, which was very unusual for me, because normally my blood pressure would be a lot lower than that. And I was sitting there waiting my turn and doing so many checks on me. And because I had chest pains, they moved me forward, fast-tracked me to get seen to by the doctor. And then they said, well, look, we've done every test under the sun. We can't find anything. We don't know what's wrong, so we'll have to admit you. So I was like, oh, great, okay. So they admitted me, and the last blood pressure count that they took was 201/107. And they were very, very concerned, and they kept asking me so many questions. And I was like, nope, not been abroad. Nope, not done this. Nope, not done that. And then eventually they admitted me, did more tests, more thorough tests. I had severe hypothyroidism, anemia. I had no iron in me. They had to pump me with ferritin, and so many other things as well that was going on in my body. So I came home after a short stay in hospital, and literally the only thing I could do was just sit down and rest, which was very alien to me. I'm very much a person, I had to be getting on, doing the work, working, thinking, serving my clients, etc. I was always constantly on the go. And for me then to go from that to just being still, it was very uncomfortable. So I was like, okay, what can I do? Because every time I attempted to do some work, my heart would start beating fast. So I thought, this is not good, this is not great. And then the symptoms started coming again, the headache and the pumping and so many other things. So I was like, oh gosh, what can I do? What can I do? And every time I was just asking, what can I do? What can I do? Eventually, I came across a lady, and she was talking about, I watched a video and she was talking about doing mindfulness and breathing and how this could help with healing. And I thought, wow, I've never heard this before. So she gave a little example, and she gave some breathing exercises and how you could be still and quiet the mind. And I was like, okay. And then she started to apply different techniques of how we could be mindful, just being mindful about your body, how you're feeling in your body, your mind, you're being present around, your environment around you. And I was like, this is really interesting. So I allowed myself to feel and to do the exercise. And I felt so much better, William, so much better just after that one simple exercise. And I thought, there's something in this. So I just took that little nugget that she had and I just kept on doing that. So I would consciously sit down, resting, and just breathing, just being mindful with my breath. And then I said, okay, I've got to find out what other things does she do? And then she does some training. So I signed up for her training, where she talks about doing the mindfulness as well as meditation as well. And I mean, to say it changed my life, it helped with the course of my healing. So I thought, well, if this can help me and it can help lower my blood pressure and bring me to that still quiet place where I feel so calm, it's got to be helping my clients as well. So one by one, I started sharing it with my clients and saying, hey, let me, help you with this. Let's just spend 5 minutes just breathing. And they tried it and they were like, oh, this is good. And out of that, that's where I developed my method that I now teach, which is pause and breathe, which I'm sure at some point we will speak about later. But that's where, the journey onto mindfulness began.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And you're looking well and healthy today. And I'm glad that you're still with us. And I'm glad that you're prospering it on so many different levels. And as you were speaking, I can certainly relate to some of what you were saying. And I'm sure a lot of our viewers can relate to the disconnection with having to meet work demands and how to find some kind of agency around our bodies. And sometimes just simple, practical things that we know we can really manage, but are effective. And
Mm,
I guess that's what mindfulness and some of the breathing exercises and everything that we're learning and sharing is really really bringing to awareness. Uh, and I suppose also I'm looking at mindfulness as a way of preventative medicine, because I mean many people get to the point where there, as you said, you were in the hospital with the high blood pressures and other conditions.
mm.
And I suppose maybe tuning in to the breath and to where we are somatically. Um, Maybe that's that sense of awareness of reconnecting, realigning ourselves. I guess listening in into what the body needs, isn't it? And
Absolutely. Deep listening, which is what I also learned about. Well, because I didn't listen to my body, even though I was qualified fitness trainer, exercise teacher, and people assume that, well, you should know about health, you should know about the body, but not necessarily. When you're teaching, that's a different capacity, but when you're running a business, it's also a different capacity. So I was both managing my business, being, on top of it, but and working within my business as well. So I was both the manager as well as the practitioner, but I was constantly in my head, which a
right,
majority of people are. We're thinking in our head, we're constantly living in our head. And from the neck downwards, we don't know what's going on until it breaks down or until we fall sick. So having that opportunity, which I now see it was an opportunity for me to slow down, be still, and to really listen deeply to my body. And my body was just like, it was lapping up the rest. It was lapping up the breathing. It was just, I could feel my body just really drawing in what I was giving it. And it was as if my body was saying, about time. you know, all those years that I had spent on the go, running, pushing, serving, over giving, over committing. It was like my body was just like, no, it's time for us to get, you know, served. And it was an eye opener for me, William. It really, really
that's
was.
great. I'm wondering if you can share with us not only some of the broad, but the techniques that you've learned. Just maybe share two or three with your viewers.
Sure. I mean, the first one that I learned, which was very, very simple, William, and which we often take for granted is just breathing in deeply through the nose, just very slowly into the belly, and then just gently breathing out through the mouth, just very slowly. And because when we're stressed, which a majority of people are, we breathe shallow, shallow and fast. And remember, I mentioned earlier that before the stress-related health crisis happened, I was walking and I was so breathless. And that's the time when, I didn't realize how my breathing was at all. But just by us just sitting down, even for 1 minute, we can just simply just breathe in slowly through the nose and just breathe out slowly, either through the nose or through the mouth. And when we're mindful and we pay attention to the breath, how it feels as it goes through the nostrils, and if you can't breathe through the nostrils, then through the mouth, and then how it feels on the way out. And over time, you assess your breath. Is it a struggle? Is it easy? Is there a strain to my breathing? What does it feel like in the body when I breathe in? Sometimes my clients, when they do this first exercise, the common thing I hear is that, oh, it feels tight here. And that's simply because we're used to being like this. We lean over, we're on the computer, we're on the laptop, we're over the phone. So everything is constricted. But when we just do this one breath, we're opening up, we're expanding, we're opening out the chest, we're opening out the diaphragm, we're opening out the rib cage, the abdominal muscles as well. So over time, we start to really get mindful in the body. Oh, okay, what does that feel like? Oh, that's a bit uncomfortable. Oh, that's a bit tight. But not judging it as right or wrong, but just seeing it as it is and saying, okay, body, I'm hearing you. And then continue to do the slow breathing. So that's one exercise. Another exercise which I love to give my clients is what I call the calm breath, where we inhale for 4 for the count of 4, and we exhale for the count of 6. Now, it's on the extended breath that we start to activate what we call the parasympathetic nervous system. So we've got 2 strains to the nervous system. We've got the sympathetic nervous system, which helps us with the stress. It helps us with the fight and flight response, sometimes the freeze response as well, when we're in those challenging times, busy times. The sympathetic nervous system kicks in and helps us to manage to get on with stress. Now, that's only meant to be temporary, but a lot of us, we're in chronic stress. So for a majority of people, it's constantly on. So by doing the calm breath, we are then shifting out of that response and into the parasympathetic nervous system response, which is responsible for the resting, digesting, and also for the rebalancing and the regulation of the heartbeat, blood pressure, as well as the nervous system. So we take a count in for 4. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then exhale through the mouth or the nose for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We'll try that again. Inhale for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's do it one more time. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. How do you feel, William?
Do you know, when you did the countdown, it felt slightly hypnotic. Your voice was very soothing, but also there was something about someone counting for you which made it really soothing. And I guess stress acts as racing, it raises that sort of, or diminishes that window of tolerance. And I guess this is kind of like the antidote
Mm.
to a lot of what happens almost unconsciously, because the stress kind of creeps up on you, day by day, moment by moment, and I can feel and sense. It was becoming more present, and more aware of you, more aware of the room, more around the space. So in that little bit of time, um, but I have to say it's much better when someone's doing the countdown. So that I don't normally do it that way, but I learn something every day, So I listen to a lot of guided sessions, but a countdown is brilliant. So I really like that technique. Well, so
Yeah, I find some people like it, some people don't. So I mix it. So I start people off with the count, and then I leave them to go on their own, unless they specifically say, if I'm working in a one-to-one, then they specifically say, oh no, keep counting, I like it, then I will continue. But for some people, they like to just really tune in with their breath and really go at their own pace and go as slow or as comfortable as for them.
yeah, that's wonderful. I think you're going to get loads of viewers and loads of interest after this video. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we close to everyone watching? Anything about your work or your workshops, your website?
Yes. So as I mentioned about the pause and breathe, I run pause and breathe sessions online, and currently they're on Fridays, and it's at midday, noon midday. And it's literally an invitation for people to stop their busyness, to come away from the busyness and the stresses of the day. And we come together in a group online on Zoom, and literally we just pause and we breathe. There are different exercises that I bring into play. I do some stretching, I do some movement, some shaking of the body just to release the stress, and then we do some deep breathing. And afterwards, everyone, you could just tell the expressions on people's faces that they just look lighter, more vibrant, calmer, and I leave them to go back into their day. So that's the pause and breathe. And I've got a program coming out soon, which will be my stress cleanse reset. And I have another program as well, which is my de-stress and release programs as well. And they take us deeper into how we can release the stress, because oftentimes, as you mentioned earlier, William, we can be going throughout our days and we just accumulate stress. We think that we're coping well with it, but often I find we're not efficiently, what I call, discharging the stress. So one stress comes on top of the other, on top of the other, the micro stresses, the macro stresses, the maxi stresses. So we could look at in, everyday life, our personal stress, the micro stresses. Then we got the national stress. Then
Mm.
we got the global stresses. And if we're not releasing the stresses enough, they become suppressed trauma over time. And then you would react in ways that you think, oh my goodness, that's not like me. Why am I acting like that? And that's because, the suppression of the stress has not been released. So this is what my programs help people with, to take them to that place of calm, rest, balance, and peace.
And it's a lovely way to end the 7-week series that we're doing with Lillian Lartey. Thank you so much for coming in. I'm already feeling very calm.
Good.
I'm at the end of the 7 weeks, and congratulations on all your work.
Thank you.
So you're on the cover of our website. You're a therapist of the month of March
Oh,
2023. So you probably didn't
lovely.
know that. So I will send your video with the newsletter out tomorrow. And do you have a website?
Yes, I have a Linktree site. So it's Linktree Lillian_Lartey.
Okay, and thank you so much for
Thank you,
joining
William.
us. And
Thank you. It's been a
we
pleasure.
see you. Yeah, I really enjoyed. I enjoyed not only the time with you, but I'm looking forward just to showing up at lunch. There's something around having this space around lunch. That's like
Yeah,
it's ideal, isn't it, for what you're doing? Yeah.
it is. Yeah, because people do get busy, in the morning, and then the it gives them that break time in the
Mm,
day where maybe normally they wouldn't have a break, they'll just work straight through. So it gives them that permission to stop, pause, and to breathe.
all right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.